Genetics loads the gun and lifestyle pulls the trigger.
Ooh,
So
that's good.
we didn't choose our parents, right? So the lifestyle that we lead is what's gonna maximize our potential. I'm most inspired by my kids. I want to set a good example for them, being able to move my body and use it as long as possible. And what that looks like today might be different than what it might have looked like 20 years ago or 20 years from now, but I just want to be able to do sports and be active.
Imagine this, you're Casey Neistat filming your life, breaking YouTube, and now you've got an Olympic runner, Roberto Mandje, by your side, telling you to run faster than you ever run before. The goal, sub-3 hours. The reality, you don't nail it overnight, but with Roberto's guidance, you break through the walls you didn't know existed, and you get closer than you ever thought possible. What you will learn in this episode, why understanding your why can be the secret sauce for showing up and pushing through tough training days, what Roberto Mandje's experience at the 2004 Olympics can teach you about resilience, mindset, and coaching, and oh yeah, he ran with El Garouche, yes, the GOAT, when balancing physical training with mental preparation becomes crucial for long-term success, and a bunch more. Welcome to Conversation in Zone 2, where we, the 1% Better runner, who is me and a bunch of other people, go for a shakeout run before the Sydney, Australia Marathon with Olympic runner and run coach / race pacer, Roberto Mandje. He's worked with pop musician Lil Nas X, Casey Neistat, and other awesome runners. Roberto's all about that 1% better life, proving that tiny gains can make a huge difference over time. I'm Darren, run coach, sub-3 hour marathoner, and 10-hour Ironman finisher. And since 2012, I've been coaching other runners, researching and experimenting on how to get 1% better. I do this through habits and incremental gains in my training, racing, and life, also that you can run and live your best one step at a time. Let's get into the convo. Hey, buddy. How are you? Nice to meet you, bro.
Yeah, how's it going?
Good. All right, I have Mr. Roberto Mandje? Mandje, okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say it all French.
Yeah, it's actually Dutch.
Dutch, and he is New York based right now, originally from Spain?
Barcelona born, yeah.
Yeah. Has ran the Olympics, 2004 Athens, and we'll get into that in a second. Between all of that, has there been any like weird, funny questions or comments from any of those famous runners that you coached?
Good question. I would say, yeah, because it's maybe fresher in my mind. The most recent being Lil Nas X in March. He was very new to racing. I believe that was his first race ever. So there was a lot of first time moments on that run. On the hand bridge.
We're at mile 6.
All right.
Mile 6 and it was nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, it was a lot. But we're here at mile 6, almost halfway there.
Yeah.
Almost.
But he was like such a positive guy, so optimistic, and really liked to have fun. So we had a really good time, but he was just very much like, wow, this is long. And like, does everybody get a medal? And, you know, he was excited that he got a medal at the end. And
That's cool.
But he was also really blown away by how supportive everybody was of each other during the run, passing people, being passed, whatever. So for me, as somebody who's run a lot of races and for many years, it was cool to live that like first time moment with somebody, because like it's something where people like you and I who've run for so long don't experience anymore.
Yeah.
Like, our first run was so many years ago, we don't remember how it felt. So to kind of be there for somebody's first race was really special.
That's cool. That's cool. And I'm sure like, you're not starstruck at all, but it's always interesting, celebrities, because that's like a whole new world for them. Like, it's just like they're used to being on stage and all that, and he was like a part of it. Whereas, you know, obviously he's the one that everyone's looking at. So I can imagine that.
Well, the funny thing with him is that I literally did not know who he was until that morning. I'd never heard of him, so I guess I live under a rock. So when I met him, I had no idea who he was. So we really got to know each other that 30 minutes, hour or so before the race. And then, of course, during the entirety of the race. So, yeah, really nice guy. But, yeah, I don't get starstruck. I think the only person who I might be, like, giddy if I ever got to meet them or coach is Lionel Messi, because I'm such a football fan, and he's a Barcelona legend. But aside from that, I mean, even with him, everybody's just a human being. And if they're stepping into running, then they're really coming into my house where I have, like, the level of expertise. So it also kind of levels the playing field regardless of what their background is.
This is the 1% Better Runner video podcast of sorts, and all about consistency habits, incremental improvements. Because I mean, that's honestly, that's the juice, that's the sauce.
Yeah.
That makes everything. It's boring, but it makes everything. What goals do you look for in implementing with, like, say someone wants to work with you and have you coach them? Are there any specific, like, go-to habits that you look to implement in people, or is it different across the board?
I mean, people are different, which is gonna sound like I'm gonna contradict myself, so bear with me. So everybody's different, generally speaking, but at the end of the day, we're all the same in terms of like why we want to do something. So with somebody, when I'm working with them, whether they have a goal of running a marathon, period, or running a marathon or half marathon, whatever, under a certain time, I try to go back to like what their why is, their reason for doing it, because that's really going to be like the big driver and the big, like your North Star, if you will. So, okay, like what's your why? Like, I want to honor my parents, I want to honor a friend, or, whatever the reason is, like establishing that why, because that's what's also going to help get you out of bed on some of those mornings where you don't want to go for a run or get you through those bad patches in a long run or even in the race. So get that out of the way. And then, kind of just do a debrief, like tell me a little bit about your running background, if there's been a long layoff, whatever. So I get to kind of study them as a system and download as much information. And then I start to see where we could start to plug training in and how, and like what the level of commitment is, work-life balance, because I want to make it as easy as possible and as least stressful, because running, especially endurance running itself, is challenging. So try to eliminate as many stresses as possible and frame it and say, hey, you're doing this because you want to do this. What is your why again? And once we get all that sorted, then we just start to sort out the training and, okay, this is your goal. Let's work backwards from goal race day to today. How many weeks do we have or months? And what kind of training we're gonna do? I try to give them an overview so that way they could come and see the roadmap, but in order to not overwhelm them, say, hey, this is a giant pizza, but we're not have to eat it all in one sitting. We're gonna chop it up in slices and have fun along the way. And that's kind of like the thing. And along that way, we just get a little bit better week over week, whether that's 0.5% or 1%. I let them know that like progress isn't gonna necessarily be linear. There's no such thing as an ideal build-up. There might be good days, bad days, good weeks, bad weeks, but you're the sum of your training. Yeah. And again, framing it that way and coming back to your why helps kind of like reset things and then, execute.
So well put. And it's just something that funnily enough, I don't actually implement why enough into what I talk about with habits.
Yeah.
And it actually is like, it's the North Star, as you said, I think Simon Sinek's book. So now start with why. That's a great one.
Future Darren here. I won't do the thing. You know that thing where people go, hey, you should subscribe, rate, share, give a thumbs up, rah, 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 rah. Now, while I'd love for you to do that anyways, I'd rather you do something that would actually help you implement this whole 1% better every day thing that I'm absolutely obsessed about. This episode, while helpful, most likely is just the first step of many to transforming you to being more consistent in your training, racing, and your life. The next steps would be to sign up for our free weekly newsletter, the 1% Better Runner. And I'll just put it bluntly. For some of you, your obsession with your quick wins might just kill your running career. Use our weekly tools and tactics from the newsletter to put yourself on the road of 1% daily improvement, or settle for a life full of mediocrity. Your choice. Sign up at either dlakecreates.com/news or the link in the show notes or description below. Let's get back into it.
So gonna hop on the 2004 Olympics,
Yeah.
the 1500. I think you were gonna do the 3,000 meter steeple, right?
Yeah.
And you got injured in the race?
Yes. Long story, hopefully not longer. Long story short, It's the Olympics, my first time there. So I'm thinking we're gonna fly because it's the Olympics.
Yeah.
And didn't even think about how it would be tactical. And then having Hikam El Garouche in the race, he's a king of the mile and 1500, so everybody's just watching him. So anyway, I'm thinking we're gonna go on like 155, 156, and we went on like, I think like 204 or 206,
Yeah.
which is a respectable time for an 800, but it's not up to scratch for that. So, you know, you have all these fit human beings just jostling. Anyway, at some point, he goes out the front and just smacks the pace. And when he did that, like, everybody's scrambling to, you know, bridge the gap.
Yeah.
And at some point there, a French guy, forget his name, and one of the American guys, I think like they bumped into each other, and I think one of them might have gone down. And anyway, I sat on the inside rail of the track, which is like maybe 2 inches high, like 5 centimeters high, and just popped my ankle.
Oh.
And I knew right then I was done. I mean, there's adrenaline and all that, but like,
You kept running. You finished, right?
yeah, I mean, it's the Olympics. It's like, I gotta finish. It's not a marathon, but like, I knew I'm just watching them pull away.
Yeah.
And my ankle, like I'm losing feeling in my foot when I'm putting it down.
Oh.
And I was just gutted. So yeah, after that, I was like, the steeplechase, which is even tougher or more demanding on the joints.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way in hell I could come back. I think it was the next day. And yeah, and run and jump and all that. So yeah, I pulled out, and yeah, I was gutted, but that's life.
That is life.
Yeah.
So, I mean, great story. And it's so amazing that you got to run with El Garouche, which,
Yeah.
if you don't know who El Garouche is, listeners, watchers, he is still one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
Some would say that Jakob Ingebrigtsen might not be as good as him. Some would say.
Well, he's gonna
he's gonna get close.
his record's on borrowed time, that's for sure.
True, it is. And yeah, Jakob Ingebrigtsen is coming in for all of them, but
Yeah.
he's got that mouth though.
Yeah,
And,
well, that's what records are meant to be done, right? Broken.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, he has the mouth. But it's the new generation, so.
Yeah, I call him the Kanye of track and field.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't go too Kanye on everybody.
It's amazing that you got to run with him, keep up with him.
Yeah, he was so nice because he knew that something had happened behind him. So he actually stuck around and, you know, waited for the last few finishers. The French guy, American guy, myself included, you know, shook hands and everything. So really great guy. So it was fun because I got to cheer him on the next few nights when he completed the awesome double of the 5,000 meter and 1,500 meter gold medal.
On that obviously disappointing race, what did you take away from that has like given you resilience moving into your trail runs, obviously marathons, coaching?
Yeah.
Like what is one thing that you took from that?
I mean, it took a while. You know, I was 22 years old, so it's like hard lessons to learn. But, you know, months and years later, and obviously till today, I just learned, like, put things into perspective. Like, no matter how bad you think things are, it's not the end of the world. If you could wake up the next day and you're still fortunate to be healthy, alive, and, you know, I was and I am. So it also, like, I was super nervous for that race. And again, it wasn't the end of the world. Like, after that, it put things into perspective where it's like, okay, if you could run that race and survive and it didn't go the way you wanted to, like, there should be nothing else running wise that should ever get you that nervous. Like, you can handle anything,
Yeah.
whether it goes your way or not. So you know, it taught me about resiliency, framing, and like being grateful for your health and being able to come back another day and still do what you do, which is like, I enjoy running. I enjoyed it back then in a different level, and now I kind of enjoy it more in the service of others. You know, it's no longer about me. Like, I love pacing people to their goals. I love coaching people. Yeah, it just taught me like the reach of running and how you could really help other people, whether you're running at that level, inspiring them, or now at my level where it's just coaching and working with, you know, everyday runners or citizen runners, as I call them. So yeah.
Citizen runners, that's great. I love it, in service. You can step back to, let's say 2010,
Yeah.
and I think you're still pro running.
Yeah.
You were doing like trail runs and stuff. back then, right?
Yeah.
Well, professionally. If you can step back and talk to that person, would you tell that Roberto anything different, or would you try to change anything?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because anything I change then like how does it alter the future, you know?
Yeah.
So not to get all like quantum physics and blow your mind, but it's like, I would just, what I would say is be kinder to yourself, because when I was running at the pro level, I was definitely hard on myself, you know,
Yeah.
like I would win races, especially on the trail circuit. And sometimes even if I won, if I didn't break a course record or I didn't win by a certain amount, I would not celebrate in the same way. So yeah, I say like, be kinder to yourself, but also I would just say like, keep investing in yourself. Like that's something that I do now. We'll keep learning and enjoy the ride because it goes by quickly.
Invest in yourself. That's one of those things I know to do that.
Yeah.
But you pointing it out, it's like, damn. And don't feel guilty is another thing I'll add to that is
Yeah.
don't feel guilty about investing in yourself, because you know something even cost. That's I guess the first thing.
Yeah.
Cost time, energy.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna get minimum 2x out of it. You know, maybe in a few years, sometimes 10x gains and rewards from it.
Yeah.
The return on your investment. So I like that a lot. All right, last question to end off this conversation in zone 2, Mr. Roberto.
Going through it, I like it.
You travel a lot. You help people, pace people, running the best times
Yeah.
via a mixture of virtual and in person, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Coaching. I think not a lot of people do that. It's a great business model, but it involves a lot of, as I said, travel.
Yeah.
Flying across to Sydney, Australia here.
Yeah, I do not live in Sydney.
Yeah,
that's
he
for
does
sure.
not live in Sydney, no.
Yeah.
What one habit is your staple that grounds you and keeps you just like keeps the wheels on the track, or keeps the train on the track so you don't get off? Because obviously you're super fit, dude. You know, you're 42, you're the same age as me.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Shout out to the 40-year-old.
yeah, I know. And yeah, man, I mean, you know, we got good genetics, but we also work very hard
Yeah.
to get here. You definitely. Is there any one thing that you do that like, that's the one thing that will trump them all?
I wouldn't say one thing because it's all about balance, but you know, one quote that I really like that I just mentioned to somebody I was on the phone with yesterday is genetics loads the gun and lifestyle pulls the trigger.
Ooh,
So
that's good.
to kind of break that down, it's like, yeah, genetics, you said we have good genetics, we didn't choose our parents, right? So thanks mom and dad or whatever, but like the lifestyle that we lead is what's gonna maximize our potential, right? And how we lead it. So for me, there isn't just one thing. Like I'm definitely inspired by others out there getting after it, but I'm also inspired by my kids. I want to set a good example for them in just about everything I do. So in the physical literacy or movement space, I just want to say being able to move my body and use it as long as possible. And what that looks like today might be different than what it might have looked like 20 years ago or 20 years from now. But the thing is, I just want to be able to do sports and be active, whether that qualifies me as a hybrid athlete or a fitness coach or whatever. Those are all labels, but like the point is I want to use my body and help other people use theirs and get the most out of their fitness and prolong their life as long as possible. And obviously in doing so, I inspire, motivate, hopefully my kids, set a good example for them, and then obviously the people who I work with hands-on. So genetics loads the gun, lifestyle pulls the trigger, and I'm just trying to live that life.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you for your time. Thanks for sharing miles with me, as Ron Romano told me yesterday. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Man.
All right.
If you want to learn more about this topic, we went into further detail. You should go and check that out right here.